Watching film, how did you assess how McLean played? Obviously, 3 interceptions.
Right.
What happened on the shows?
You know, some of that, well, just overall, how he played, I mean, I think you got to remember he's been here a month practicing with his team. It's a totally different operation than he's been involved with really in his career. But kind of like what we talked about before the game, just his football IQ, his work ethic, and how he's kind of ingrained himself into our system. I thought he did an unbelievable job to be out there, to be down 2 scores with adversity early, really down 2 scores twice in the first quarter. And he was able to kind of go to guys and keep them calm and rally them, which is impressive. You know, again, he hasn't been there that long. It's his first game. It's really his first, you know, meaningful game in a while, too, for him, just experience-wise. So to handle all of that and just be able to shake off a couple things early and run our operation well and hit plays that, you know, we hadn't hit, you know, any of those plays last year, really. Just say it like it is. And so I thought he did a great job. I mean, I couldn't be, you know, more impressed. I think, you know, interception-wise, the first one, he kind of had a guy came off of Kamal in his face, and he really never got through the throw. I think if he gets to drive it out there to Davon, he'd have a chance. I think Davon was outside the defense there. I don't think it was a great call, to be honest with you. I thought it was third and a little bit longer. I don't think it put him in a great spot there, but I do think he had a chance if he could have really driven it out to the sideline. And then the other ones, you know, it's a little bit, you get into the game, you want to see Isaiah make a play. He and Isaiah have hooked up a number of times through camp and want to see if we could hit that. He really didn't win at the line of scrimmage. That corner's a good player. Really had him covered pretty well, but he kind of took a shot at it anyway, and, you know, the other guy comes down with it. And then the third one was kind of, that's on me. I mean, it's 3rd and 11 from whatever, and I should just give him something to say. The same thing, we're trying to give Paul Woods a play. See what would happen, and you know, it just didn't happen. I think it was a bad play. So, you know, I don't think that he's not going to throw an interception for the rest of the year, certainly. But I don't think it was anything. He was just being careless and out there whipping the ball around. You know, I think there's reasons for each, and you know, you didn't really see the ball in any kind of jeopardy at any other point. I don't think during the game he made some great throws. The best one might have been the one down the sideline, Isaiah. That, you know, I ended up, you know, put us into a 4th and 2, but. You know, I did think that, you know, the 2 plays, the biggest plays of the game, the 4th and 2, obviously, who knows what goes there if we don't hit that, and he finds a way to buy time, and then Bo makes a great catch, which, again, I don't think Bo makes that play a year ago. And then 3rd and 5, again, you're on the 40-yard line. If you know, you got to have confidence to take a shot like that, and for him to throw it, and then Bo to win, again, against a legit corner, and then come down with it. Again, I don't, you know, he's a totally different player this year as well, Bo. Those were the plays, because you're sitting there in bad spots if you don't hit them, and certainly the 4th and 2, no bigger than that. But to be able to hang in there and make those type of plays, you know, against, again, that corner's a good player, so it was like, you know, it was a real play. I mean, I was really impressed, you know, and I think he'll just continue to get, you can just tell, you know, more and more comfortable with, more and more assertive with. And we can do better with some stuff for him as well.
As camp wore on, at what point did you feel like McLean might be the guy? And ultimately, when you have to make a choice, how close was that decision?
Well, I mean, you guys saw it. I think, you know, we're here, a lot of people were here for that first scrimmage. He was open to the public, and obviously he was pretty impressive out there. I think until we got in the meeting rooms and got on the field, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do in the summer. We didn't do a whole lot. There's no balls. I mean, you know, he was out there throwing with the guys. I didn't see any of it. I don't, you know, guys would say, oh, he looked pretty good. He looked, I didn't know what to expect when we got into. So really the first week was as much a feeling out on both sides about what do you really like and what, you know, can you handle, but what do you really want to be comfortable with and hang your hat on. And a lot of times those first week of camp, you're just putting stuff in every day, so you script what you put in. So I think sometimes, you know, he was in a tough spot with plays that he's probably not going to operate much with, but we had to run them because the other guys have to learn them. And so, but it didn't take very long to go out there and watch, you know, just the accuracy and the ability to see the field poise, the ability to kind of extend plays and know when to just let it go or when to just take a chance that you could keep it alive and get something down the field. You know, I think the accuracy and the poise and the football IQ and the ability to see the field, I think that really showed through the first week. You know, again, like I said, whatever it was a week ago, I didn't really want to make it like a daily thing. He's up, he's down. But he was pretty steady all the way through. I think as we got more comfortable, he kept, you know, playing better. Obviously, you guys saw, you know, after the first week, we started alternating 1s and 2s pretty steadily through the rest of camp, which, again, I don't think it really hampered. We ran kind of the same plays. All those receivers were kind of mix and match on the 1s and 2s. Sometimes you weren't always behind the first line when you were with the 2, but I don't think it hampered any kind of development for either guy. But I think as that started happening, you know, and you get to throw some passes to Raheem and to, you know, Bo, and to, you know, it started to kind of separate a little bit more. And, you know, it's one game, and I'm sure there's going to be some ups and downs as the season goes. We're ups and downs in that game. But he certainly, you know, looks the part, looks like a guy who will give us a chance every week.
Last season, you said you had to kind of simplify things with the true freshman quarterback out there. Now that McClain's kind of stretching the field and throwing those deep balls, how much more does it allow you to do offensively in scheming and play calling and such?
I think it does. You know, I just maybe have more confidence in it, you know, because the plays become like, you know, if we were in a lot of those close games, you know, in the second half of the year, and you don't want to waste a play on a shot and think, well, if it's 2nd and 10 or if it's 3rd and 10, then what are we going to do? It's more like, okay, if we don't hit it, there's just a little bit, the confidence goes through not just from the play to like what could happen next. Like, in other words, if it is 2nd and 10, we'll be fine. You know, we got 2 runners that are really good players, and, you know, other guys that can help run it too. But I mean, we have two guys we feel good about, and we got another guy, you know, with some guys outside that we feel. So it's not, I think it's a whole collective group thing that there's a little more confidence in being able to do some things, and that if they don't work, it's not the end of the world. It's not like, okay, we're punting because it's 2nd and 10. You know, like that's almost, you could almost fast forward at times, like, oh, or what are we going to do here on 2nd and 12? Because if it's 3rd and 10, we're going to. So I think there's a little more confidence through the whole operation. It's not just him; it's really everybody. And obviously, this is going to be a whole different challenge. I understand. I mean, I'm in the business. This is a hard place to play, and they're one of the top defenses in the country. And it certainly isn't going to be, you know, close your eyes and chunk it. It's going to be hard. But I think just overall, there's a lot more confidence in the whole group. I mean, like I said, a guy like Bo, a year ago, his body's changed, his strength, his ball, you know, everything's changed, which it should. He should improve as he goes. Sometimes guys don't, though, and he certainly has. So there's certain. It goes through more than just McClain. There's really a lot of guys that Zach Vineski a year ago, it wasn't even in the games. So it just feels a little bit better that every play, you're not like, if this doesn't go for any yards, this whole drive is done. I feel like if we have to, like the 3rd and 14, if we have to, we can dig ourselves out.
What was your message to Art when he didn't win the job? And you probably heard what Chris said the other day, perfect world, you redshirt, but can he continue to develop and maybe you know, be the quarterback in the future?
Oh, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. You know, I think, you know, I know I've said it to you guys before, I think it was a little bit unfair that he was forced into playing last year. He really wasn't ready, just nobody would be, based on the experience that he had previous to that and having to go play against some of these defenses we play against. So there's certainly, while it always looks like this is it, he's got 3 more years to play football, and it could be over 4 years, it could be over 3. But I just seen, like, in a week, you know, he obviously handles everything really well, where he stands back there with McClain and kind of is pointing to where he would go with the ball and why, and you know, he's going through the operation behind McClain every time we run any of these plays, and he'll continue to do that, I'm sure. That's just his work ethic. I think it's clearing, I don't know, I don't want to speak for it, but I think it's just kind of clearing some things up, like, oh, if you wait this much longer, or if you move this much that way, or if you whatever, it just changes everything rather than it has to come out right now. You know what I mean? There's just, I don't know, I think it'll be invaluable in the end. I don't think it's what he would probably have rooted for or wished for, but in the end I think it could be a good thing. And we did have a conversation, you know, right around when we made the decision and earlier this week, and I even went to him on the sideline. I said, okay, you know, we talked about it, more or less saying, let's not waste any games. Like, in other words, if we're up big, let's not use that as one of your games. Because A, we might need him second snap of Iowa for the rest of the year, or we might need him to win some games, but maybe he doesn't get more than 4 and he can steal the year back. So we weren't going to kind of quote unquote waste the game. I mean, Johnny's already had his redshirt year, so but I wanted to make sure he was good with that, you know, in the game. I just went up to him and said, hey, this is what we talked about, right? He said, no, I'm good. Like, not that he wouldn't do it if we wanted, of course you say that, but the reality is we're not going to waste any games.
So he is the backup quarterback. It's just
Yeah,
on what.
yeah. That wasn't the situation.
Okay.
You know, I don't think, you know, if it was something, you know, knock on wood, if something what was to happen in the first quarter or something like that, he was going in. You know, same thing with this week. I mean, that's the way we're kind of operating for now. But we're not going to, you know, up or down or whatever it is, just say, hey, go finish the game, and then all of a sudden that counts as a game.
Epinesa, I think he had 1 tackle against I mean, how much did he change, I guess, their offense, what you saw, even with this 1 tackle? I assume they had to double.
Yeah, they did.
Him every time.
Yeah.
And how do you feel that you guys match up, especially with the issues at tight end?
Well, it's hard. I mean, he's one of the best players, if not the best defensive player in the conference. He's one of the best players overall in general in the conference, which is saying a lot for this conference, obviously. And the guy on the other end, 57, is pretty good too. I mean, he plays incredibly hard and is sound. It's just like everything they do, they are sound and they play incredibly hard. They don't panic. They don't give you anything. You got to earn every inch that you get against them, because they're not going to just blow a coverage and the guy runs free. I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, every play is like a battle, and you got to be on. But certainly, the front in general is where it starts. It's where it started for this defense for a long time. But they do such a good job of not just the individual techniques and players, just collectively how they read blocks and read pass, run, and read and react accordingly to what you're trying to do. Like, they change their operation in the middle of the play, and they do it all together. And so it's hard to get anything on them. But certainly, when you just look at the team, you know, okay, this guy can ruin the game, and then you realize as you go, so can the other guy. I mean, I really think they have 2 guys that are certainly capable of doing a lot of damage, and I'm sure they're going to have a great season. Not to say the inside guys and everybody else, but that's where I think you start. Miami did do a number of things to kind of double them, you know, put a back in a tight end or a back in a tackle, or on them, or slide to them. You know, they slid to them several times. So, I mean, we're you know, in the middle of, you know, going through first and second down and getting the third down. Obviously, we get the third down. You know, there's a lot of games, you know, watched last year where teams were really having success on first and second down, and just about every third down they get sacked. It was like, you know, they're moving it, oh, okay, these guys have a good plan, 3rd and 8, sack. You're like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? So that's where he kind of rises up. He's got tremendous ability, and you know, we'll see. I mean, now it's a little different for him. He's playing every down. You know, last year he wasn't, but he's certainly a presence out there in every snap.
And he's over left tackle pretty much.
Yeah, right. And you know, he certainly, this is a big challenge. Obviously, we you know, saw a couple of these guys, you know, last year, Gary and Bosa and so forth, as we went through the season. And as you handle those guys is how you have a chance in the game. If you don't handle them, you're going to have a long night.
2 more.
Chris spoke very highly on Friday night of Bo. Specifically, after last season ended, Bo wasn't happy with where he was, and he wanted to take a step forward, and Chris was very complimentary of the work that he put in. Do you remember what some of those conversations were like after last season ended with Bo, and just what his mindset was?
Well, I think what happens, and I've said it before with Bo, I think he played too early, but he had to play. I mean, it was just, he had tremendous just physical ability, but his body, he hadn't grown into really his body yet, or he hadn't put it together to be a real, you know, football guy just yet. He was very loose, you know, didn't have a lot of power in his legs, so you can get, you know, you're playing against these big corners, like this week, these guys are big corners, and you get in a jostle with them and you fall down, or you can't quite finish the play and get the ball, they knock your arms, or whatever it might be. So it's really been a 2-year kind of process of physical changes, you know, in the weight room and getting the speed to translate into football. And I think Lester's done a ton of work with these guys. I mean, Lester's coached a lot of really good receivers and you know, made Bo a priority because we knew we got to have speed. There's no substitute for it, but you got to be able to finish the plays. I think he's finally somewhat grown into his body. I don't think he's done. You know, you'd love to say he redshirted that first year, and this is, you know, he's got 2 more after this. But because I always talked about is that if you look at the real receivers, it's waist down. Just I don't know if it's Antonio Brown or Larry Fitzgerald or Terrell Owens or this, whoever, it's waist down. That's power. That's how they get their jump start off the ball. That's how they outplay people for the ball. And then obviously half those guys are jacked up here as well. But it really starts down there, and that's where I think he was kind of a track guy with the skinny legs that could go run all over the place. Now he's got some power to him and confidence to go ahead and make those plays, because he made them all camp, and he made them, you know, you could see it coming in the spring, and then all of a sudden in camp, and you know, because that's just a different level of speed, but if you can't finish after a while, people just go, yeah, just don't worry about it. So I thought, in my end of it, dealt more with the physical part of developing the body, the strength, to be able to make those plays. And you know, I think he's just getting started. I think he'll keep getting better.
Final question. Any adjustments you had to make with McClain under center? It seemed like you had a couple of adventures.
You know, it didn't happen. Well, you guys were here. It didn't happen once at camp, and so yeah, I think there's some things where he's just not pushing himself away from the center. You know, it happened twice. It wasn't the only 2 times he was under center all night, but certainly after the second one, I thought, well, I'm not really a fan of getting under center again here tonight. But I think he knows it's good for him personally going forward, you know, to be playing and here and beyond. And he certainly has worked at it, and it really hadn't happened once the whole camp. It's been close once, I remember. So, you know, whether that was just in, you know, this heat of the game or whatever, he slowed down the operation a little bit, just making sure everything was right, you know, before the snap, whatever it might have been with each particular one. But they both were kind of the same thing. You never really stepped with the first foot away from the center, so the second foot never came off the ground. And you know, because Crimmin came over to me and was like, I can't believe it, I'm sorry, I stepped down. I'm like, that was not you. I mean, you're just running the play. He's got to get out of there. So certainly it gives you, you know, something to think about. I don't think we want to just go, we're not going to go all gun, but we've got to get back to basics and kind of reemphasize some of that stuff to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, guys.